Since it is a holiday today, the market is closed, so we're going to do a little something different and see how many shares we have to have in order to make $5,000 per month on MSTY in distributions. Hello my friends, this is Legend. The market is closed today, so we're going to change it up a little bit today, and we're just going to see how many shares we need in order to make $5,000 per month for a total of $60,000 a year. And that would be just in distributions. So let's just go ahead and slide over to a sheet that I've made up, and we'll just punch in some numbers and play around a little bit. Okay, so here we are on the spreadsheet, and for this one here, I've got it as showing MSTY. And as you can see here, just to go over it real quick, we have a ticker symbol, we have the start date, and we have the end date over here on the left side. It will show a current price, and then it will also show the average price throughout the dates that you have in the above. So if I change that date from the inception date, which is that February 22nd, then it will give me that average price from that date up until today's date and provide that in this little purple cell right here. Then I've got a little table at the bottom down here where you can just enter in the amount that you want to invest. You can enter in a share price and it'll kick out how many shares that you would get for that amount that you want to invest. That's a pretty simple little calculation right there. It's just the amount divided by the share price of the stock. Then in the middle of the screen here, we've got a beginning balance. So this here, we would enter in whatever the amount that we want to start off with, the average price, and this is the average price again from these dates here, from the start date and the end date that we've plugged in over here. And that would give the average price from those dates. The number of shares owned. This is the number of shares that you would be able to buy using that average price and the beginning balance here, which we're showing right now at $50,000. That would allow you to purchase 1,774.5 shares. The average distribution, this one here is being pulled from over here on this table. So let me slide over to this table, and as you can see here, I've plugged in the distribution table from the YieldMax MSTY website, and it shows all of the distributions that we have received so far. And as you can see, the latest being $2.37, and the beginning back in April the 3rd of 2024, it earned $4.12. So all of this added together, divided by that number of distributions, gives me a total average distribution rate of $2.63. So currently I have that being pulled in over here to this average distribution rate. So I'm trying to get an average idea of what the distribution rate is and the average price, and using that as the overall price and average distribution payouts. And therefore, that would give me an average distribution yield of 121%. And that is just simply taking the average distribution of the $2.63 times the number of distributions per year, which we would get paid out 13 distributions a year and not 12, as we get paid out every 4 weeks, divided by the price. And I'm using the average price for that. So that gives me 121% average distribution yield. Now, just to add a little conservatism to it, I put in a reduction factor here, and I've just put in like 15%. So that will reduce that distribution yield down to 103.36. So we'll use the 103.36 as the distribution rate or yield to calculate our average dividend per year and then break it out per month. So right now I've got it in as $50,000. I've got a 15% reduction on the current average distribution yield of 121. So that takes us down to the 103. And that's just to add a little bit of safety in there, as the distribution is not constant. It is forever moving. I would rather show a lower yield than a higher yield, because if we beat that yield, then that's great. Now granted, this is an average, so it could be higher or lower than that. So we will use that 103 in the calculation versus the overall average distribution yield of 121. So what is the average dividend per year if we put in $50,000 and we bought it at the average price of $28.18, therefore owning 1,774 shares at an average distribution of $2.63, and therefore giving us a distribution yield of 103.36%. We then have an average dividend per year of $51,678.83. And what would that kick out per month? So we'll take that, and that's just divided by the 12, and that gives us $4,306.57. So we are just shy of our $5,000 per month. Now we can do one of two things. We can change the safety factor, or we can say, okay, well, what if we were to buy, say, 2,000 shares? So to see how we can get up to that 5,000 per month, we'll just enter in that beginning balance. We'll just change that. We're going to invest 60,000. And we'll see how many shares that gives us and what is the new monthly distribution amount on that. So at $60,000, there, now we are at our $5,000 per month with $62,000 per year. Now, of course, this is not guaranteed. This is just using the overall average that MSTY has been paying out. And as you can see, the lowest being about $1.33 to the highest being at $4.42. So a wide range of distributions, and that's why I just plugged in the average here, thinking if we can use the average, then overall maybe we can hit this average per month by using that number, which is just simply taking the average of all the distributions we've been paid out so far. Now, of course, everything changes according to the price that you have purchased it at, your average price, the amount that you have used to invest, and even what that distribution yield would be. But if we were to use that full average distribution yield of 121.6, then we can just go in here and just say 0 on the safety factor for that reduction and see what that gives us. On average, it would be $6,000 a month, just on average. And that's with $60,000 invested for a total of $72,958 per year. So these numbers can get a little crazy, but it's just kind of fun just to punch in some numbers just to see how well it's doing, and also just to play around with the distributions that we're getting. But of course, do not take this as guaranteed. Past results are not indicative of future payouts, but it's still fun just to punch numbers and just to see how and where it's at. Now with this calculation, it is not reinvesting any distributions or anything like that. This is a one-time purchase at that average price, earning those average distributions. And what the calculation shows you would get per month and per year. So I hope all that makes sense. And if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, smash the like button, as it is much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.